Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lawdog Sports on a Saturday evening as we wrap up Championship Saturday for college football. Quite a day, quite a day, quite a day. I just got to say, I might eat some hay or maybe go play.
Sure.
Jeremy Schroeder here with me. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Law Dog, and I tell you, Jeremy, this college football playoff, they've already been in talks and decided they would eventually get to 12, but apparently it'll be a year too late. And the Alabama Crimson Tide assert their claim to get Texas into the playoff somehow, some way.
I do not care that Texas beat Alabama in September.
Yeah.
Alabama just knocked off number one. Alabama is the SEC champ. Alabama should be in.
Well, I'm just going to say this. So, in all fairness, think about this. 2017, OU goes to Columbus, wins on the road.
Yes.
Beats them in their house. Who made it to that playoff that season?
Didn't they both make it? Didn't Ohio State make it as well?
No. They had a
loss. They dropped another game, didn't they?
They dropped no.
Yeah, but who did they get in over? That's the thing.
Well, that was it. Wasn't it Clemson, Bama, Georgia, and OU that year?
Yes.
Bama beat Clemson in or was it a Pac-12 team? I don't know. Let me see here.
Was that the year Washington made it? Washington.
I'm wondering that too. 2017 CFB playoff. So, anyways,
I'm not saying
that season. My point being is that season, the narrative for the talking heads who want, maybe that was actually 2018. It's weird. Okay, so January 1st, 2018, Georgia versus Oklahoma. You were at that game.
That was the 2017 season.
Yeah. So Clemson and Bama. So Ohio State did not get in that year.
Right.
If I remember right, and I'll look it up. But if I remember right, the narrative is the second week of the season loss was like a different season. You remember that?
Right. Yes.
That it was the narrative is this Ohio State team's different than that team that OU beat.
Yep.
Now, when it's on the other foot, I disagree. You beat somebody in their house, you own that advantage. This Alabama team is not the same team that Texas beat.
Oh no, they are not. They are. They bullied Georgia up front.
Yeah,
running the football,
and much like Texas bullied Alabama up front.
Right,
but it's week 2.
I know it was week 2. That's all I can say. It's week 2. How do you keep now? If this score holds with Florida State beating Louisville, I think that takes a lot of the guesswork out of it because you won't get 2 SEC teams because I don't care what you say, an undefeated Power 5 champion is in.
Yeah, you're P5 and you go undefeated. And I heard talk all week long about
Cardale Jones was the third-team quarterback.
Best team versus resume. Well,
that's right.
It's human nature. It's going to be part of both.
So there's one spot. Let's just say Florida State wins this game. I don't think they're going to, but let's just say they do.
What are you looking at sport-wise? I see 3-0.
I see 3-0 as well.
Okay, you said something. But the score holds. I thought maybe lose.
Well, yeah, if 3-0, they could win to 3-0. Whether it's 3-0, 10-0, or 7-3 or 10-7.
Yeah,
it's an undefeated Power 5 champion,
and they demolished an LSU team early in the season.
Right, they should get in over a one-loss, especially a one-loss conference as associated with a professional wrestling organization.
Yeah. Well, and so we're here with you live on a Saturday night. We're going to break down our opinions of all of this nonsense that that we love every season. And so where do you want to start? I'm assuming Steve Anderson's checking in on Facebook Live, says Texas, Michigan, Bama, Georgia. Best I can do. Sorry, not Pac-12. No love for the Huskies there, Steve-O.
Huskies have to be in. That's an undefeated Power 5 champion. How do you leave them out?
They beat a top 5 ranked team twice.
Yeah,
twice.
I mean, how do you leave them out?
Yeah, you can't.
I mean,
and they won't.
The national pundits were all acting like it was a foregone conclusion that Oregon was going to win that Pac-12 championship game. And you know what? Washington was clearly the better team.
Yeah, twice. I mean, everybody, the narrative was Oregon just made a few mistakes here and there and almost won on the road. And then you didn't win in a neutral place. So, look at you. So
now, did anybody in the Pac-12 play anybody good out of conference?
Well, and that was the transitive properties. Was Oregon struggled with Texas Tech early in the season, and then Texas demolishes Tech.
Wasn't that a Tyler Shook revenge game?
Oh yeah. Tyler, he managed to fight off the injury bug for 3 quarters, maybe something like that. But no, and that 2017 Ohio State team, they did lose a second game, so they did by November 4th. That was the year Iowa just throttled.
They lost. That was the year they lost to Penn State.
But the thing is they were in the Big Ten championship game, and there was still talk about
a 2-loss team making it, right?
And how they were deserving because it was the second part of the season. Well, you're at Iowa. Iowa was some giant killers there. Iowa and Purdue did some dirty work for the rest of the conferences there for a while.
Yeah, I remember those days when Iowa embraced offensive foosball.
Yeah, they did.
Man, they are awful right now. I can't even. This is just hard to watch.
Yeah. 10-0.
How can you not field an offense that at least is half as good as your defense?
Well, and they've traditionally always had just tremendous tight ends, and that's just caused havoc for teams.
I see a lot of big guys wearing 80s numbers out there, but I don't see anybody. I guess the McNamara kid went out early in the season, and they're playing a young guy.
Steve Anderson says they were awesome. Talking about UW, I guess someone has to be left out. Washington will be in.
You can't leave an undefeated Power 5 champ out. They've never done it. I don't see them doing it. And if they do, then Alabama and Georgia are both in. There you go.
Yeah. Dan Narvis says Washington had a tough win in East Lansing the week after Tucker got fired. So, I mean, and therein lies the thing, and it's always been the contention. If you're a Power 5 conference team, win every game by 1, you're playing for a national title.
Yes.
I mean,
and you should. There's 4 spots. There's 5 Power 5 conferences. And is that Dos Equis lime?
It is.
That looks good.
It is good.
I'm Awita.
Okay. Are you on a cleanse or something there?
I'm on the wagon.
You're on the wagon doing that. Are you doing that liver cleanup for the holidays?
No, I just didn't go to the store.
Captain Jack's still around the corner from you.
Captain Jack's
right there at Tecumseh and 36th.
You talking about Tecumseh and 30? Oh yeah. It's still there.
Okay.
Yeah, in the SVS station, the gas station there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Sooner?
I don't normally.
Folk.
Yeah. I usually I don't go to the liquor store too often.
Really?
We have strong beer in the grocery stores now, Chuck. I don't know if you know that.
Small business Friday, Jeremy. What the heck?
I'm sorry.
Corporate.
I'm sorry. Usually I just, it's an impulse buy when I'm at the store because I don't really do it that often when I'm just at home.
So Dan Narva was being sarcastic. He said it was 45-7, but
yeah.
You are right. I think those 4 teams are the best. Not convinced Washington will match up with the rest, Bama or Georgia, but we might see. I mean, in the picture, what everybody thought that this was just going to be is just figure out a way that Michigan plays Georgia, right?
Sure.
Everybody was going into this.
Yeah. And Saban, obviously, I mean, he is the GOAT. And he had something up his sleeve for Kirby today, again, in the SEC championship game. Now, does that lead to both of them getting in? Seems a little fixed to me, but I can see that happening too.
Well, and
You
I've
can leave the
on
back-to-back champs out because
on
they lost
on
3 points on a
yeah.
neutral site to a top 10 team.
That's the thing, and I have gone on record on social media saying that Sankey pulled the power play on that last time Bama beat them in the SEC title game, and they both got in.
Now, do you remember mid-season?
Mm-hmm.
These people all talk that loss to OU doesn't count. That was fluky. Well, now that loss
Right,
to
Texas
OU
lost.
now they're
Yeah.
seventh,
Oh yeah.
so it means something now.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
they've got OU ranked as the worst 2-loss team, so we'll see how that goes after SMU pulled one out today, and that's
Well, they
that
did,
is
and
now a quality win.
gosh, that is the Mustangs, baby. I mean,
They're really good.
why they
Top
get
10 in
left why they
offensive
got
and
left out of the
defensive.
new Big 12 is just beyond me. I don't. I mean, they could end up being a lot bigger program than TCU. And I
They
know
could.
TCU just played for a played in the playoff last season. Well, played for
They
a
got
national title.
they got all that Methodist dough, right?
Yeah, yeah, Methodist, man. Well, because in Oklahoma they got a pretty good split going on right now, but
Sure.
but you're exactly right. Now, so championship Saturday, Jeremy, and I got to be honest with you. I listened to a good chunk of stuff on the road on the radio today, but I did see enough of the Big 12 championship to know that Texas has a lot of weapons.
They are good.
And they have
They
a
are
lot of
good.
offensive ability. I got to say, the first few series for them that I saw, it really kind of reminded me of like the Sam Bradford OU days.
Yeah.
You
They
just
just came
so
out
much more
and
speed on the edge than and a quarterback that's accurate and can hit guys and those little screen passes out to the flat, man, they're just gashers, you know.
and surgical and big tight end and
Oh, the tight end,
man.
Tavian
And
Sam.
I'm telling and don't compare Quinn to Sam because I'm with Teddy. I think Quinn's pretty mid.
Well, and I just say that because of that short passing game and the way
Yeah.
they're able. I mean, he's probably not anywhere going to be near as accurate as Sam was when Sam had a pretty pocket.
Yeah.
You know, the thing is it just for a brief moment when they were executing, and I just thought, oh, Oklahoma State's not that terrible on defense, but they could not get out there and cover backs.
No, they just don't have the. I mean, yeah, you have to scheme your way into getting stopped by Oklahoma State.
Mm.
That sound right? That sounds
Yeah.
right. I mean, because they have laid some stinkers on the defensive side of the ball this season, and
Well, and I mean they got pummeled by Central Florida. So I mean,
yeah,
you knew
yeah,
it could happen.
badly.
You struggle with BYU. I mean, they did. I'm going to say this, and this may make you irritated. They did what Oklahoma did. They got fired up and played super out of their head for the game that mattered. Oklahoma still the second best team in the conference, but there's such a letdown after you just expend everything plus some injuries. I mean, depth has so much to do with it, but
injuries. And here's another thing that you're not. I'm sure you've heard this, but I don't think it's sunk into your head. I was pretty smooth brained about it up until a couple of days ago, but that's a tired defense.
The OSU
that's a tired defense. No, Oklahoma.
Oh, sure.
5-second 3 and outs after 12 play drives. Man, that ain't good.
No.
And well, that's Mississippi State's problem now. So
it is, and while the numbers were outrageous at times of what they could do and the ability to put up stats and things, it is a situation where
the scheme is solid, but you need to pick your spots when to go tempo. Going tempo all the time is not it doesn't work if your defense is struggling. Now, if your defense can get out there and stop and you're deep and if you have Iowa's defense, go tempo. Knock yourself out.
Sure.
But if you're just coming off the field after the defense has just given up an 8, 9, 10 play drive, somehow got to stop, let's take the air out of the ball a little bit. huddle up, let's snap the ball at 3, run it a little bit.
Well, so many times we rail on coaches who have some poor clock management, in games. I mean,
it's situational. It's awareness.
When you and I and Corey Hogue used to do this show together, Corey was he marauded Mike McCarthy for his
Mike McCarthy still sucks at it.
He still sucks. But in the big picture, though, I mean, all of that kind of falls on Venables because, he is your offensive coordinator and, let's run the dang ball. Now, I used to say that about Link when he was when he had Samaje P. Ryan and Joe Mixon in the stable.
So run the daggum football.
But back on the Big 12 championship, as Steve Anderson says, Texas runs the screen so good. They really do. And some of those turnaround screen passes where, it's misdirection, I guess, with the pass or whatever. Dan Narva says, Tim Brando went nuclear half an hour ago about playoff privilege. So I guess, man, I'm telling you this much. You may hit this point in your life. You're a bit younger than me, but the job I used to do and how I felt about said job. And let me tell you something, that as you're on your way out of a place, and I think Tim Brando and Spencer might be on their way out, they seem to be just sounding off like they got no F's to give, man.
Well, they called the OU what was it? Who they played day after Thanksgiving?
TCU.
They called that game. Yeah, they didn't look at a call sheet. They probably sat there and stared at the table when they did when they did their production meeting with the coaches. Yeah. They had no idea. DJ Graham was the best receiver on OU's team, and he's been hurt.
Spence doubled down on that on social.
I know.
I was like,
what? DJ, he's a great kid. He's in the transfer portal, but he was a corner. And he switched to receiver, and he never sniffed it because they got better guys.
Looks like Michigan might have a turnover.
Oh, yes, they do. Oh, my goodness.
But, the thing with Texas is we called them the Mecca of mediocrity forever. And they, got big name recruits, couldn't develop them, couldn't get them to play hard, couldn't get them to execute. Obviously, this season, they ran through some situations where, yes, they struggled a bit with some teams, but found a way to pull it out at the end. Then when it mattered, and you think about this, 2 out of 3 games when it really mattered to them, they won. And
it seems like to me they finally have the right guy down there.
Yeah,
I think Sark's the guy, and
And you guys marauded me the last 2 years. We did the show regularly for saying Texas is back, but
because you say it before they're back. I want some evidence. Okay, I've heard Texas is back, and then watched them drop a 4-8.
Yeah, well, that's
like last year. They're back. They went 8-4. Why? Because they beat an OU team that started a tight end at quarterback.
Yeah, well,
8-4.
Exactly, and that's the thing is this team now is a lot of those same players from last year. So obviously, some message got through to the players to say, you got to be better. And I don't know if that's NIL, threatening of withholding NIL funds and I'll tell you this much. The NIL packages far outweigh the rookie contracts, obviously, nowadays.
I don't know if it's so much NIL. A lot of it is they're getting guys in, they're developing them. They got mostly sophomores and juniors on their offensive line. For years, they had nothing up front. Remember, they didn't have a guy drafted on the offensive line for how long?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It was like a decade.
5 or 6 years.
I mean, they were just not recruiting well. They had, guys on defense. They didn't have anybody. It was just
they would get big 5-star recruits.
Yeah, and just no development.
The best 3rd or 4th round draft picks.
Yeah, and it would be 1 or 2 guys drafted a year. Hell, they had years they didn't get anybody drafted.
No,
Texas.
No. Yeah, and in fact, I think wasn't Lil Jordan Humphrey like a free agent?
Yes.
Did he get drafted?
He may have got drafted like 6th round.
I think he was undrafted free agent.
He might have been,
but
they had they had maybe a defensive back get drafted, and then this last year they had how many guys get drafted? I know didn't Overshown get drafted?
Yeah, he
and an offensive lineman.
Bijan Robinson was kind of their first.
Bijan.
Wasn't he their first rounder in forever or first? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Since
a while.
Quentin Jammer? I don't know. It's been so long.
Well, was Earl Thomas a first round pick?
I don't think Earl Thomas was a first round pick. It's
surely,
man, I don't know.
Players off of that 09 team that went.
You would let's see. Well, Vince wasn't a first round. Colt McCoy? No.
I bet Earl. I think I'm going to bet that Earl Thomas was a first round pick.
Well, okay. You want to put your money where your mouth is. Let's see. What year would have Earl Thomas come out when he's doing weird stuff with his brother-in-law?
Wait, he played on that 09 team that lost to Bama, right?
Okay, so in 09, they had Brian Orakpo got drafted in the first round.
Orakpo.
And then Earl Thomas was a first rounder to the Seahawks in 2010.
Yeah, because he was Legion of Boom guy.
But these are max guys, yeah?
Oh,
and then they had a first rounder in 2013, Kenny Vaccaro, defensive back.
Yeah.
And Malcolm Brown, the defensive tackle, in 2015. And then the drought began.
Yeah.
So Bijan was 2015 to 2023. They didn't have a first rounder.
Wow. So 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and so obviously something has clicked because even though, I mean, I'll just say this: the talent that they have is probably on par. I mean, we saw that it could be on par with Alabama by them going into Tuscaloosa and winning.
Yep.
Michigan, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State. To me, those are your 4 programs that are going to draw the most, and really Clemson over the years, but we'll see if they have a drop off. Right.
Yeah. It was a rough year this year.
Florida State's trying. I mean, they've had draft classes. But the thing about it is it's always been a systemic problem in Austin that guys get there and then all of a sudden they it's like they forget how to play.
It's like getting to Texas was the destination.
Yeah.
Not the beginning of the journey.
So that tells you that even before NIL, the pay was pretty good.
Yeah.
But the key to that is to me, with what they are doing now, I would like to think, as an OU supporter fan, that if they did get the playoff nod, that they would just get demolished, a la 2019.
I don't think they would though, because they're.
I don't think so either. Because here's the thing: the motivation is there for them in the big games. It's little games like like the Houston game and like those games where they just lollygag, and then this year happened to be the year that they were talented enough and they could pull in enough to go get it done. And then when you have Kevondre, is it Kevondre Sweat or Tivondre?
I don't know. It's Sweat
kid. When you have Big Sweat, when you have him, when you have that player, it dictates so much of what your defense is able to do, because we see it case in, case out. If you can rush 3 or 4 and get pressure, you're so much more money ahead.
I think they have the best front 7 in the nation right now, defensively.
Yeah, you'd probably say that.
And I don't like to. I was pretty apathetic with the game today. Whatever. If we're overdue for a meteor strike to take out the planet, I hope. I hope Jerry World was ground zero. Yeah. But I don't like to compliment Texas, but yeah, they've got a great front 7. They can compete in the playoff just because they are really, really good defensively.
Well, and they kept Ewers clean for the most part.
Yes.
Really, the only time he kind of got banged up is if he decided to tuck it.
In which, Oklahoma couldn't rush the passer all year, but they got to Ewers' ass.
Yeah. So question: exit, in or out, Texas?
Out.
Question exit. Washington, in or out?
In.
Bama, in or out?
In.
Georgia, in or out?
How many I got in right now? 2.
You have Bama, and you have.
I dropped my top 4 on the Expert app, so I got Georgia in.
Okay, I'm sorry. I may not pay attention to you much on
That's
that.
okay. Yeah, you liked it, but okay.
No, I
in Michigan, and yeah.
Well, we're doing
and that's
this for
just
the listeners, Jeremy.
I know.
I'm sorry, listener.
Well, Dan was on there too.
Yeah.
But I'm just going. Listen, this committee may do something totally different this year, and if they do, I will fall out of my chair.
Mm-hmm.
Because the back-to-back 2-time defending champion, who was challenging the 47-game win streak, today would have been 31.
Mm-hmm.
Loses by 3 points at a neutral site in a championship game.
Yeah,
and how far are you going to drop them?
But I could
one to what? 7?
about Ohio State. I mean, they're not
true.
They don't have the championships, coming back, but I mean, their one loss, and their one loss was by a score on the road.
Yeah, and if they do leave Georgia out, then that Alabama's going to get in.
Mm-hmm.
One of them's getting in. So
Yeah.
you would seem to think it would. I seem to think it would be Alabama, but in the past they have put both of them in.
Yeah,
twice. Remember, Alabama lost early in 2017, and ended up in the playoff. Let's see, Georgia's schedule. They beat number 20 Kentucky.
2 years ago that Bama. It was Georgia's first title that they lost to Bama in the SEC championship game.
But resume, they beat number 18 Tennessee. They beat number 9 Mississippi. They beat number 12 Missouri. Missouri's a good football team.
Missouri, I guess, Kansas State of the Big 12.
Yeah, and they beat number 20 Kentucky.
Oh, did you see the Brad Nessler, Gary Danielson sign off on CBS?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I didn't either. But it's here on Twitter.
Yeah. So who's got the first tier grant of rights for the SEC? Is it ESPN or ABC?
Oh.
Or they're the same company. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're talking about the rat. I don't know. But on your 4, let's go down it once again. I know we're kind of dragging here, but Steve Anderson, perfect argument for a playoff. Pundits are saying Bama should get in over Texas because they lost to a better team. So basically, Bama should get in over Texas because they lost to Texas. So thanks, Steve.
Well, Oklahoma's going to end up in the top 10 in this whole thing. So that is a quality loss.
Let them fall. But the thing about it is this playoff system, conference championships matter.
Yes.
Right.
They have to.
So you have 5 conferences, you have 4 spots. So taking everything away, taking, the loss that Texas has against OU, the loss that Alabama has against Texas, the loss that Georgia has against Alabama. That's the thing about it is just go do the right thing and drop Georgia. They struggled with Georgia Tech in the final week of the regular season. They did. Right.
No, they did.
Bama struggled with Auburn, but the thing is Bama showed up and won.
Yep.
But
and you were a police officer long enough that you should always expect the worst out of our fellow man. And there's a whole committee of our fellow men that are going to make the worst possible decision.
And that's why, and I
don't think Kirby Hocutt on the committee again?
He may be. I don't know. Yeah. But, the thing is that I was about to attack Klatt earlier this week because, him and the pencil neck, but really, they were just super, super high on Oregon and Texas. And so, and if Oregon beats Washington, Oregon belongs in and Texas belongs in, and I guess basically leave out the loser of the SEC title game. I don't know. They didn't factor in Bama upsetting anybody. But the thing about it is I looked back on his Twitter feed, and he went through a phase, back in the BCS days, he bagged on them, called him clown and all this stuff. But then once the playoffs started and the playoff committee got underway, he was talking about he had a series of tweets about the BCS made more sense, and it does. The problem with the BCS was it was only 2 teams.
The problem with the 4-team playoff is it's not 6 teams.
Yeah.
Because 6 teams will give you your 5 Power 5s plus a wild card or an at-large. 1 and 2 get a bye. 3 through 6 play each other, and then you go on. It adds a week.
Yeah, and the FCS teams do it. They do 24.
Well, they do 6. Yeah, they do 24 teams. I mean,
yeah.
I guess they have less school than these other guys that probably haven't been to school since last spring. So this summer.
So Yahoo Sports has a story. Georgia coach Kirby Smart makes case for Bulldogs playoff inclusion after loss to Alabama. You know what I say to that, Jeremy? 45-35 neutral field, Chris.
Yep. 45-35, dude. Let me answer that.
Think about 2008, a 14 playoff then.
Well, hey.
Florida, OU, Texas, and hell, maybe even Texas Tech. I can't.
What year was that? 08?
Yeah. The 3-way tie with Texas, OU, and Tech.
Yeah, didn't man.
Everybody had one loss that season.
That's true.
Yeah.
What year did OU play Florida for? Was that 07?
Yeah, it was 08.
No, it was 08. Okay.
Yeah. And that
was Bradford was a sophomore.
And that was the year there was a 3-way tie in the Big 12 South, and OU advanced.
And Texas A&M claimed a conference title.
That was 45-35 neutral field.
45-35, yeah.
So, and I'll say this, and this is where you can respect your coach a little better, and I don't hate to go back and bag on Mac, but, I'm sitting there watching Bedlam, and it was Thanksgiving weekend, if I remember right. Texas had already played A&M, and it's during Bedlam, and Mac's on, during the broadcast talking with Fowler and Herbstreit, whoever it was at the time. And that's where I heard 45-35 neutral field, Chris, so so we haven't got to that point yet, but now we have social media. So but I don't know. The thing is it's a weird turn of events, because Texas could end up being totally screwed by the conference.
I know.
Winning. If there's any sort of irony in this world, that's got to be what it means right there.
Yeah. And screwed by the conference they just left for somehow not getting Oklahoma into that game.
Yeah.
So they'd have another quality win if they beat Oklahoma. There's a top 10, top 12 win instead of beating up on Oklahoma State, who nobody thought much of at the beginning of the season. Hell, we were looking at them like, I don't know where they're going to get any wins. But they scraped together something and won some ball games.
Here's some interesting news. Chargers offensive coordinator Kellen Moore is expected to have a, quote, real shot at the Panthers head coaching job.
Oh my goodness. I saw the push notification from the evil 4-letter today that the Panthers were going to hire an offensive coach to coach up Bryce Young. Like, well, what the hell was Frank Reich?
Yeah. Frank Reich, didn't he win a Super Bowl at Philly?
He did. Coached up Nick Foles.
Case Keenum or no, Nick Foles, yeah.
Nick Foles.
Yeah.
He coached up Carson Wentz as well.
Exactly. Last one to do that. So anyways, the SEC title goes to Alabama. Heck of a game, really. For them to go in there and do that when everybody had just kind of written them off, pretty stunning. SMU, congratulations on their American Athletic Conference championship as well. And man, my New Mexico State Aggies, Jeremy, they just couldn't get it done against Liberty.
Well, Jerry Kill he just does a good job wherever he's at.
He throws that poncho on, man. I want to jump on a horse and start raiding villages down along the border with. He's like Poncho Villa to me, man. I'm like, let's go, Jerry. And where would Minnesota be now had he not, because isn't he
the seizures?
Yeah.
How's his health? Has he been semi-healthy since he's been in New Mexico State?
I moves the desert to get healthy, bud. Billy the Kid's mom did, and so did Doc Holliday. So
maybe Arizona State should try to grab him.
Somebody should do something. But yeah. So, anyways, congratulations to Liberty, and I guess did Troy win the Sun Belt?
Who'd they play?
Troy in South Alabama.
Hey, I've got a computer right in front of me. Let's see. South Alabama. Let's see.
Oh. So did you watch the trophy ceremony for the Big 12?
No, it was Appy State.
App State.
Troy won 49-23. I had it turned down because the wife was working.
Well, there's a video of the Texas team. It said Texas fans, but Longhorn fans, but I think it was mostly the team because Sark's calming them down. But Yormark took the mic, and there's no. I'll have to play hold on. Let's go ahead and play it real quick. Guys. Pretty solid booze.
Yeah, I saw I saw it without audio, and you could tell that they were just giving it to him. But that guy's a clown.
In the initial stages, and maybe this goes back to before the announcement of the split, I thought he would be a guy that could get the conference elevated up more.
He has elevated. He has done some good things for the Big 12, but he needed to be just a bit more diplomatic with the Oklahoma and Texas exit.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty adversarial all season long, and yeah, poor Texas Tech just got hammered.
3-0, Florida State, Louisville.
Yeah. It's barn burners, a couple of barn burners on. Oof.
As far as seeding, with your top four, how would you seed them?
Oh, man. Sorry. You don't even have this team in your four, but Washington won. Undefeated Power 5.
Michigan.
Michigan won.
Yeah.
Washington 2. And then Alabama, Georgia. So you get Georgia, Michigan right out of the bat, and Alabama, because they want Alabama and Georgia to play for the national title because just
means more.
It just means more.
And Texas should know that.
Yeah, they should know it they'll know it tomorrow at noon.
Yeah, really.
Or whenever the playoff announcement is.
Cost the SEC that money. They're going to collect it next season.
That's right.
So apparently the Big 12 championship set an attendance record today, 84,523. You mean they didn't show up in 2018 in force to watch Lil Jordan and Sam Ellinger
get beat by Calamari?
Who?
Huh?
By what?
Well, that's a Kyler Murray.
Calamari. Yeah.
Calamari.
Calamari.
So Quentin Williams. That's what Quentin Williams called him. Calamari.
Yeah. Dan Narva says Jerry Kill was wildly popular in Minnesota. Our Big Ten source of information up there, Dan.
Is PJ Fleck very popular? Because he seems like a D-bag.
I don't think he's doing that well. And
yeah.
I'll Dan to comment on that, but I don't think they're rowing the boat too much. In Minnesota. So Heisman brings up a good question. The quarterback Daniels from is it Jaden or Jalen?
Jaden,
I think.
It's Jaden.
Transferred from Arizona State. Used to play for Herm.
Yeah. Yep.
And he could be hoisting the trophy. In fact, they said after last night with the Bo Nix performance. And I gotta say, who's this douchebag that sang the national anthem down at Jerry World today? They say he's platinum selling. I've never heard the name before in my life.
Is he a country artist?
It sounds like bro country or something like that, maybe.
And that's all. I don't even know who any of these new guys are.
He's a long hair.
See, exactly. He couldn't make it. His rock and roll's dead, so he couldn't make it in that. And he's not a pop guy, so
yeah.
I don't know. It's trying to be folksy.
You gotta call yourself country.
That's right.
Still kind of do hip hop.
See the other half of Florida Georgia line. See, I'm spinning. I don't know. Did he have rhinestones on his jean pockets?
Wearing a leather jacket.
Well,
had the aviator shade, so he's cool.
Is it Billy Ray Cyrus?
It was something. Yeah. So, I would say, I'm gonna say, and so who we would have is really remiss of anybody cares, but I will say this: I think tomorrow we will have Michigan 1, which I'm saying that their score is going to hold over Iowa.
Iowa can't score 10 points.
UW 2, Bama 3, and Texas 4. Because I know Bama beat them, and I know Texas will scream to the heavens if they get left out. But, I mean, they ran a far more difficult gauntlet after that week 2. And performed.
Yeah, they did.
And beat a better opponent than Texas beat. Well, there's that argument that Steve Anderson threw out.
Well, I mean, the only other top 15 team that Texas played all season long, they lost to.
Yeah.
And Alabama, let's just pull up Alabama's resume. And I'll tell you, okay, they lost to Texas, who's 11. They beat Mississippi. They beat Tennessee. They beat Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat Georgia. It's a little better resume.
Sure.
They beat Texas A&M.
Yeah. Struggled with Auburn.
Oh, I'm sorry. They also beat LSU, who's ranked 14th.
Yeah.
So there's another top 15 win.
So if you get and then dang it, here's that undefeated Power 5 Florida State.
Texas.
I don't know that they're going to hold out here 3-0 against Louisville at the half. That's hard to say.
I mean, listen, the highest ranked team that Texas beat after Alabama was Oklahoma State, ranked 18th.
Yeah.
And they lost to Oklahoma.
So I just feel like, and the Big 12 kind of beat up on its own, I guess, about it. But like, to me, when I think about it, Jeremy, is, Florida State. I mean, will we see the day when an undefeated Power 5 team gets left out?
I don't think it'll be this year.
It shouldn't be. I mean,
if you really get and look at, you talk about Alabama struggling against teams. Okay. Texas struggled against Houston. Texas struggled against Kansas State. Texas dang near lost to TCU, who was not a good football team this year. How many points did OU score against TCU this year?
69.
Nice. Yep. Okay. They struggled against Iowa State, unranked.
Yeah.
They beat the stuffing out of Texas Tech, but I think they were done before that game was even played.
Well, and here's the thing. Florida State wins. UW.
Oh, crap. They struggled against Wyoming for 3.5 quarters.
They did do that. Yeah, that was a pull away in the fourth quarter, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Really, so was K-State.
Yep.
And Kansas was a second half pull away too.
Yeah, Texas is playing really good the last 2 games.
Oh,
but before that, their best game was the BYU game, and BYU's not very good.
There were games that Ewers was out and they won.
Mm-hmm.
What, TCU and Baylor?
Yes, that would be TCU and Baylor. No, Baylor was 2 weeks before Oklahoma. It was TCU and Iowa State.
Okay.
No. It was Kansas State and TCU. It was two of those 3 games.
It was Kansas and Kansas State, I think.
No, because they were back-to-back games. And TCU and Iowa State and Kansas State were all 3 in a row.
Okay.
Well,
so Ewers played at TCU because he made that pass to Mitchell that sealed the game late.
Okay, well, I can look at the box scores from all three of these games
That's all right.
because
Don't worry about it. It's
we have the technology. Anyways, I mean that. I guess my point is that they all have warts. None of them were perfect all year, and that body of work will be taken into account. And I think that's how you get two SEC teams in.
Yeah. Well,
but unless Florida State wins, and then you get one SEC team, and the wrestling conference don't get in.
Yeah.
And then the Undertaker's going to go. What was his move?
Oh,
I can't remember what the Taker's move was. It was Stone Cold. If it was Steve Austin, it'd be the Stunner, son.
Stone Cold Stunner. Oh Lord. Yeah. So I mean, Florida, UW, if results hold out, and this is the chalk, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Michigan, Washington, Florida State. And then how about screw the SEC and screw Texas? Put Ohio State in there.
No. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that Ohio State's a very good football team. Well, I don't know. I mean,
they played Michigan to a score.
Right.
I mean,
do you watch Michigan and they just blow your doors off? I mean, they're a good team, but they're not.
Well, they're like those old. Who's the guy that coached at Wisconsin and
Barry Alvarez?
No,
Big
Bielema.
Oh, Brett Bielema.
Yeah, 3 yard Brett Bielema team.
Yeah. Somebody was floating the Sharon Moore name as the offensive coordinator. Was like, have you seen his offense?
Careful,
throw the ball.
Hey, careful, Jeremy. It's an hour ahead in Michigan where Dan Narva is, so we don't want him. We don't want him getting stoned.
No, there's still Central Time up there.
Our wrestling aficionado Steve Anderson says Tombstone Pile Driver. That
okay. All right. Thank you.
What was I remember? Goldberg. His was
the jackhammer.
His was the
jackhammer. Yeah. The spear. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Still, the stunner's the best if you sell it.
It's two great things. It's a nut or a nut kick,
and then the
DDT. I mean, he came up with the ultimate move.
Yeah, like Vince McMahon got the best one where he about launched himself out of the ring. It was great.
Oh yeah, he did go flying, didn't he?
And then he signed a deal with the Big 12.
Here's the thing. This is what Joel Klatt was going at earlier in the week. Is the playoff committee is unclear on their lingity about whether or not it's resume or whether or not it's the best 4 teams.
See, that's the thing is they don't even know.
But
you know what they'll do?
People.
You know what they'll do though? People flow like water, man. Path of least resistance. Georgia, Alabama. We're done here. Let's go. Let's go to the bar.
As much money as the networks stand to make that broadcast, and there's Sark talking about something to a camera. So I'm sure
I can't watch him because his voice doesn't match his face.
I thought you were going to say it was that Kip's big boy swoosh he has up in front of that.
He's about to, he's eventually going to have to, go on home, right?
So if Texas does make the playoff, who watches the monkey at the Pole Assassin's house?
Is that guy still on staff?
Yes, I think I pointed out on Twitter one.
Is Gia the monkey still alive?
I don't know. He might be down due to biting treaters. Hey, you said you had some grievances to air since we were so close to Festivus against the OSU faithful. You wanna knock that out?
Well, I've always been very complimentary about Mr. Gundy up there. Have I not? Steve Anderson can vouch for me.
Sure.
Okay. Now, there are a few fans in our fan base that don't want OSU to win no matter who they're playing. I'm not one of them because I'm apathetic to the whole thing. They win today, great. If they lose today, that's fine. Because I am of the belief that whereas I like seeing OU play Oklahoma State every year, it doesn't – because of the lopsidedness of the record. I just don't view it that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's cool. They win, that's great. I mean, but they got to 20 this year, okay. But I don't need to hear it. You know, we've won 91 times. How many times have OU fans just been, in Oklahoma State fans mentions on X or on Facebook? I have friends on Facebook that are just losing their minds because their OU friend said they hoped OSU loses today. Why do you care? Why do you care? Let it go. Who cares? We're leaving. You know what? It didn't have to be this way.
No, and here's the thing too. If it shows, and okay, so distinguish for me the difference between power programs and blue blood programs, because it seems to me like the Cowboys football program had the resources to become a power program.
Right.
Right.
I mean, yeah. And
Stillwater and Norman are middle of the country.
Yes.
There's talent around.
Yes, there is all kinds. And
haven't they gone like 10 years having the lowest recruiting budget in the conference?
Yes. And I want to say it was like $456,000 this last year, where I think Texas's was like 2.5 million. It's some insane number like that.
Even Texas is very few teams are going to find that, or no team in the country is really going to have that. But I mean, just look around the conference. TCU, there's no reason OSU should be lagging behind, because here's the thing. You've got a Heisman winner who's still walking the planet.
Yes.
You've got an arena, which I think it's kind of silly, but I mean the fans love it, and you can do things there.
Gallagher-Iba?
No, I'm sorry, the football field, the state.
Yeah.
It's not Rust-Oleum, but so yeah. Here's the thing. Today, and you mentioned my police work earlier. Path of least resistance. People always resort back to their training. You and I have been trained to hate Texas.
Yep.
So when OSU took the field today, I was just saying, yeah, I hope OSU beats them. But I didn't feel that way before, because the fact that I because of all this bantering and all this carrying on that Mike Gundy has done and their fans, and then yeah, you win in Bedlam, you get the right to talk smack for 365 days. You get the right to talk for 10 years possibly, I don't know.
And then the Ag House threw a dead steer on the front lawn of the farmhouse yesterday, which was I don't
they've priced beef lately, they would realize what a crime that is.
So allegedly the thing had died of natural causes. Sure. I know. I'm extremely
Longhorns get sick.
I'm a student of human nature, and I'm extremely cynical, so I don't believe that at all.
Not for a minute.
Not this week. Not this week. Now, if it happened in Norman the second week of October, oh yeah, that thing was 100% killed and thrown there just for giggles.
Well, and okay, so let's start at the top. You have Gundy, and he's always gonna saber rattle.
He's a great coach and a great developer of talent.
Sure.
He surrounds himself with good coaches. Now, he may be unapproachable to his own players, don't know, but it seems like whatever he does up there gets the most out of them, right?
Sure.
But it just seems to me like there are too many programs in this conference whose ceiling and floor are too close together.
Well, yeah. I mean,
our floor is 7-4. Our ceiling is getting beat by 28 in the conference championship game.
Well, think about this. it's the amount of expectations, and how many teams in the current Big 12, not next year's Big 12, but in the current Big 12, have basically made their bones on being spoilers.
Most of them, up to and including Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Sure.
I mean, Texas won their fourth Big 12 title today since 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Oklahoma State's got one. They've never won it unless there was no conference championship game that one magical year.
Mm-hmm.
and they got spoiled by Iowa State because Iowa State's an effing spoiler.
Yeah.
You know,
so, I mean, K-State in general,
yes,
they spoiler last year to TCU.
their ceiling is just
spoiler
a little bit higher because they have won a conference title game or two.
Well, sure.
3 of them actually.
But I mean, a lot of those conference title games were in the role of spoiler.
Right. And they also got spoiled by
Texas A&M.
The Aggies. Yes.
Sir Parker.
Sir Parker.
I still think he was out. But
yeah, well, you know,
Michael
no
Bishop,
replay back then.
What a name that was.
Who? Michael Bishop?
Michael Bishop.
Yeah, that dude could play. Man, he was good.
You know, it's funny how offensive trends have changed in the NFL because that guy now.
Oh yeah, he most definitely be.
He would have been a first rounder, and he would have at least, if he just read the playbook, he would have lasted 10 years. And I'm just saying, as long as he wasn't Jamarcus.
Hey, Josh Dobbs keeps Jamarcus Russell. Josh Dobbs keeps getting jobs.
Yeah,
and he's a nice player, but he's not a guy that's ever going to lead anybody anywhere.
Tyrod Taylor,
hey, he took a not great Buffalo team to the playoffs.
He did.
He's a very underrated player, and I yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's languishing for the Giants.
Yeah, he is. So
gross.
So big picture. I found it easy to root against Texas just because I hate to see them succeed in anything. Now, there's that weird bond that's there now between OU and Texas fans.
Yeah, it's not that strong though.
No, it shouldn't be. But you'll be in the same conference, and you can just go straight back to hating, every single thing that they ever do.
Sure. But here's the thing: they could win today, right? And then get left out of the playoffs. No one will laugh harder than me.
Oh yeah, it would. It would be a riot.
And it's like, one lost conference champion. Should have had no U on your helmet.
Yeah. And then, also, no kidding. And then also, if they do make the playoff and they get trucked, that's just that much better too. You never want to see, now here's the thing. In 2005, they helped OU by ending USC's,
Yeah, but they got a natty, so that doesn't help us at all.
But
yeah.
I mean, that was, at least they provided a classic game in that one, and then
they did that. That was amazing.
And then 2009, they're playing Bama for the title, and we all know that if Colt hadn't got hurt, they would have won it.
I know. And you know what? You know what else would have happened? If Sam would have never got hurt, they'd never been there to begin with.
No, they wouldn't have.
No.
And plus, Colt saved him that title.
Or if a wee man would have made the dang field goal, Jimmy Stevens.
Oh yeah. Well, there was almost a pick six that Colt McCoy prevented from happening that would have won the game that year.
Yeah, I think Jimmy Stevens missed an extra point and 3 field goals in that game, and they lost by 3.
Did you happen to see OU Sooner commit Jaden Nickens for Oklahoma City Millwood win?
Yeah, I'm never a
2A title.
I'm never a proponent of just kicking the ball out of bounds, but kick the ball out of bounds.
Do it then.
give him at the 30, because this guy's he's gonna take it to the house.
Yeah, it was the winner. So, but no, and here's the thing, and I'm gonna ask you this because while the stations that I work for with Right Media, we air The Rush and we air Toby Rowland, and there's a lot of Parker Thune also. But I mean,
not a fan of Parker.
He gets old. I mean, Twitter's full of trolls. If you're going to put as much content out there as he does, then you can't take every troll to task.
I enjoy Plank. I enjoy Teddy in the afternoon.
McComas are unlistenable.
McComas and Thune. Yeah. Who's on there with Teddy? Who's on there with Teddy?
McComas, but that kind of balances out. It's a recruiting love fest for 2 hours with, well, maybe an hour, but with
I do like that at sometimes, like the week before
signing day,
I'll listen to it.
Yeah,
all day.
Care in July.
Yeah,
that kid that you say is a crystal ball prediction to commit to.
Well, hold on. Now you got to care in July because that's when the last 2 years OU's got the most of their commits. is July.
Okay.
Now, June, I don't care in June.
Do they sign in July?
No, but that's,
No, I don't care.
if they're committing, they're 75% going to sign because or Brent will pull their offer.
Well, and what I was going to lead up to is that they need to make sure that these classes just don't miss a step.
No, they got to keep recruiting just like they're recruiting now, bringing tons of dudes on defense, and your big boys, both
and
sides.
Herein lies the thing, and this is where the idiocy of people who are haters of the program in Norman really are buffoons, and even the pencil neck out in California is, okay, Oklahoma doesn't produce that much Division I college football talent as other states do, but they have a 50-60 year history of tapping into the talent that's south of there. That's not
right.
It's like, do you think that's going to become worse going to the SEC? Is
no.
It? Yeah.
And that opens up a whole other, recruiting ground there. Louisiana, Arkansas,
Georgia.
the South.
Remember who was from Georgia? Big lineman, Duke. Was Duke Robinson from Georgia?
Oh yeah. And hey, who was from Florida? Lawrence Marshall. Remember, he threatened Chris Winke's life before the Orange Bowl.
Now he was from Florida via the JUCO route, but still, you're right.
Penal system,
like Lynn or Sparrow or something like that.
He went to Blaine County or somewhere.
Yeah. Well, and so he got my trophy. Got my boy's trophy, bitch.
Coming to get it.
My trophy. Speaking of, start of third quarter, still 3-0 Florida State.
Man, this is a barn burner.
It really is.
Florida State's got. Don't they just take 3 knees and punt it? Yeah, that's just really bad. Travis was good. The kid behind him wasn't that good, but he was at least holding it together.
Yeah.
This kid just seems completely overmatched.
So
now I say that he's going to throw a 60-yard dot. Huh?
Is this a different guy?
Yeah, it is. Uh-oh. Well, that was a good play.
Flag on the play. Holding.
Oh, boy.
Steve Anderson. So when OU and Texas move over, how are they going to align in the divisions?
It's on defense.
Isn't it pods? Aren't you? Or what? No. Just kind of free for all, and you're going to have your what, 3 or 4.
Yeah, 3 or 4 permanent opponents, and then you'll play one.
OU, A&M, Texas, and Arkansas, or is it Missouri in there?
No, we got Missouri. And then they'll play, like this year they've got Bama and that group, Mississippi, and then the next year they'll play a different group, and until they come back around. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll probably change after this season when they go to add an extra conference game.
But yeah, South Carolina, Alabama, and Tennessee, but they're going to play Texas every year.
Yeah, and we need some of that sweet Vandy action.
Road games at Auburn, LSU, Missouri, and Ole Miss.
And Oxford's nice. I don't want any part of that LSU game. Howdy toddy.
Yeah,
at least they're losing Jaden Daniels after this
season. That'll be a light Sooner caravan going to Baton.
At least they'll be replacing a quarterback.
Yeah, and hopefully some receivers too.
Yeah, right.
Neighbor's kid is really good.
Yep.
Texas matching up against. Let's just say they match up against what you gandering at.
I was watching the Florida State quarterback throw a duck.
Yeah. Let's just say that Texas matches up with UW. I don't think anybody credits UW with the defense. Now they did,
their defense is pretty good.
Played pretty good against Oregon. Struggled at times against other teams, much like everyone else did through the season. But I think probably this Texas defense, unless they just go out there and pitch a game like they did against OU, where some bad things happen, here and there, or just put against the wall too much, they could probably cause all kinds of problems for Penix.
Penix can cause all kinds of problems for a left-handed
definitely.
quarterback that can move.
He's amazing, but I'm just saying, given a month to prepare.
Sure.
But I mean,
we got look what Dylan and Gabriel did to him.
Exactly. So accurate quarterback. Bowman just didn't seem to look like he
was on his heels all day long.
Yeah. All season long, he looked like he was just kind of shoving the ball to places.
Yeah.
And guys would make plays, obviously made enough plays against OU, but when he was bad, he was extremely bad.
Yeah, he wasn't great today.
And I say that,
man.
I say that with you and I being Bowman fans for 5 years. I'm sorry,
I know
for 7.
But 26 years since late 1900s.
He played for Galen Hall.
He was down there with Spike Dykes.
Yeah, he was backing up Kingsbury. So, all right, exit question. We need to get out of here.
Yep.
Tomorrow. Tell me again, who do you say the playoff committee picks?
All right, Michigan, Washington. Now, okay, is this assuming Florida State holds on to this 3-point win?
No, because I think Louisville will come around and probably take it to them.
Then Alabama and Georgia. I just think they'll do what they've always done.
You said Mich, UW,
Alabama, Georgia.
So you'll go all SEC all the time.
That's what they've done in the past. I just don't see them changing it up, because they'll do what we just did right there and look at the resumes and see that, well, Texas struggled against some bad teams and didn't really beat any great teams all year. The only team they had ranked inside the top 15 other than Alabama, they lost to.
Well, you're going to like my pick, but I'm going to make it just because.
Go for it.
I mean, have you ever been like
we're not on the committee, so it doesn't matter.
You ever been in one of those situations where like your picks, you have to kind of make some outrageous picks, or else your picks will be the same. You got to hope that the guy that you're tied with, that makes the same picks as you or something like that. I'm going to say Michigan, UW, Texas, and Ohio State.
All right, it's getting late. Ohio State's not making it, dude.
I don't know.
I just don't. Yeah, they do, but I just don't see them making it. I just don't. If they make it, they'll make it over Texas, and Texas won't get in.
Did Louisville almost? Like they almost. Oh, was that called back?
I don't know.
I don't know. I just saw
talking to you
forever.
Yeah, I got called back right there.
So Florida State wins, holds on. That's elementary. That's 3 undefeateds.
Yep, and they all get in. And then you got one that you got, and it'll be a one-loss conference champ. It'll be Alabama.
Be Bama.
Yep.
Okay.
Just for pure resume, and they had the best loss.
Well, and I mean, and that makes sense because I mean, like we said, okay, yeah, we lost to you in week 2, but we went and beat teams that were far better than the teams you beat, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the year that Oklahoma, that you keep referencing, Oklahoma beat a good Texas team.
Yeah.
Weren't they ranked at the time they played them?
You're talking about 08?
Was it 2008?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No. 2017.
Oh, OU, the Ohio State win?
Yeah, and they beat
top 5. I know that for sure.
Yeah, who did they lose to that year? They lost to Iowa State that year.
I think
that was the year that Joel Lanning played quarterback, and they ran. I'm serious.
Linebacker that they had.
Yeah.
But
they beat a good Kansas State team that year. Shoot.
Last couple of comments. Dan Narva says Michigan, Washington, Texas, and Bama, but he doesn't know. Dan Narva says the Buckeyes quarterback is stinky. That's a skunk emoji, I guess.
He is stinky.
And Jeremy, Steve Anderson says, Jeremy, you're assuming the committee is going to use logic, LOL. Well, we know this. I mean, here's the thing. We know the SEC will not be left out.
Okay, so that year, They beat number 11 Oklahoma State, number 2 Ohio State, number 6 TCU, and then they beat TCU a second time.
Mm-hmm.
So they had, 3 wins in the top 11.
Yeah.
4 wins in the top 11. So that's how they got in.
If this had been Oregon that we were arguing about, wouldn't they have? Doesn't the Pac-12 just have like an enormous number of teams ranked this year?
Yeah, but Oregon's got 2 losses.
Well, if they had one, and it was
right, yeah,
Oregon we were talking about.
Well, yeah, they had this year. They had Washington. Remember though, Washington State and Oregon State both just fell off a cliff.
Yeah,
and so did USC. None of those teams are ranked any longer. So I think your ranked teams in the Pac-12 are Arizona, Oregon, and Washington are the only 3 left.
So my answer to the question about pods and schedules in the SEC, the most recent quote is they'll play 8 conference games, eliminate divisions, and the assignments will be based on fairness and balance.
That's how OU got the killer schedule year 1.
That's according to Sankey. Skanky. Well, now guys like us are going to have to, be ready to listen to Paul Feinbaum a lot and stuff.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for that. How does a he's a New Yorker? How's he get roped into the Southeastern Conference?
Took some nothing job in Tuscaloosa years ago before multimedia and
shouldn't
was in play.
Oh, what's that guy's name? Oh my gosh, the hillbilly hipster
McAfee.
No, not McAfee. Don't get me started on that.
Marty.
Marty. Yeah.
The doofus that's in every NASCAR race. And
yeah, why isn't he the voice of the SEC?
He kind of is, but just not on a daily basis from six.
Or my guy Matt Mitchell.
Matt Mitchell.
That fat guy that I sent you the TikTok for that does the SEC recaps every week.
Oh. Yeah.
He's the best. I love him.
Yeah. I'll be interested to listen to Dusty Dvorak and Danny Cannell Monday morning and see what they have to say in the fact that Cannell is just pure shit starter anymore. He doesn't even use reason.
Didn't he play at Florida State?
He's going after Prime. He's going after Prime Jr. Like they've got a Twitter war going.
Who, Shedeur?
No,
Shedeur?
The one that does all the video highlights of the talent.
Oh, Dion Jr.
Yeah, Junior.
Wow.
He's the cameraman for his talented brothers.
Yeah, wow. We'll see what happens with them.
Yeah. All right. Steve Anderson says, good show. Enjoyed it. I enjoyed it too, Jeremy. It's always a fun time to talk, and Louisville could be about to tie it up here.
Louisville.
Well, they brought me here to resurrect.
Who Louisville played who? And he missed it. Oh, he made it.
Yeah, 3.
What did they play for? I told you it should be a old bottle of Evan Williams.
Oh, isn't it? Is it not Cloak and Bucket or something? No, that's
Louisville and Miami played, and it was they had some Schnellenberger. Yeah, they had some Schnellenberger.
It was a gold boot.
Yeah. Should be a bottle of Evan Williams.
It should have been a pipe.
Or just
should have been a
old pipe tobacco.
Pipe. Yeah, with some Prince Albert sitting right there.
Build obelisk on the mountains.
They brought me here not to run the wishbone.
Oh, so the last football game I went to before I got deathly ill, I'm just, I had a few cold beverages,
barley pops,
and we're wandering underneath the stadium, and I look out of the corner of my eye. It's Mike Steely. Steel man. It's like, what's up, man? Like, oh my God, he acknowledged me.
Yeah.
Mike Steely.
Forever. I've tagged him on tweets, and surely he remembers that I was Chuck the Duck and called in him daily back in the 90s.
See, he used to get his haircut at the Supercuts. It was right across the street.
There you go.
All the time.
Yeah.
Mingling with the peasants.
I miss that area. That was a good area up there. But yeah, still, man. And you know, here's the funny thing, and I've talked about this with our good friend Dean Lindsay there at Stretch of Norman. It's going to be unheralded the impact that Mike Steely had on Oklahoma City radio.
Yeah, he's been around forever. He was with the Animal, and
if you're our age, you can remember when there was no sports talk, or if it was just spotty, and it was.
What was it? The old WWE KNOR.
Well, yeah, and where I came into it, and I never listened to a moment of sports radio in my life until I was driving home from a part-time job one afternoon, and I happened to catch Bill Simonson on the old KTOK, and I guess they had brought him in because wasn't Eschbach on KTOK back in the 80s?
Probably
once a week or at
night.
So Eschbach is obviously had gone to WWLS, and they bring in Bill Simonson. He called it the Big Show, and Steely was his creative content or producer, because that was the first place I ever heard Gary Gibbs's kick-ass rock and roll football. And I'm telling you, I was hooked. I mean, it was like, holy cow, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. It made me realize what could be done with radio audio and imitations and things like that. And then it was the
who was it that did Switzer? It was Mike Treps. He just did a dead on Switzer impression.
Well, and so then, you know, and it was such a discontented time for Gary, you know, during the Gary Gibbs era. And that was the point I was going to make earlier, was the OSU OU rivalry truly did become a rivalry in our adult years.
Yes.
If you think about it, because
up
until what was it, 92, they tied. And that was when you knew OU had fallen back into true mediocrity. It's like they couldn't top Colorado and Nebraska all those years, and they struggled with Texas. But then when you tie in 92, when you tie OSU, you knew the bottom was falling out. But even with OU reaching back up and getting into the upper echelons, OSU was still a spoiler at times. So, while the rivalry since the Stoops era began is lopsided, there was still none of those games where you just walked in and said, yeah, we're going in, hang 500 on them, we're out of there. It was never that way. I've never felt comfortable about an OSU game since 95.
There've been a couple, but I only felt that way after they started, because Gundy would come out and run the ball on 3rd and 8 or something, and you just like, well, Gundy's not even here today. We're just get after him. Or the Les Miles years when he just talked so much noise up into the game and they beat him 52-9.
After they had lost 2 in a row,
right?
And
there were a couple games where
John
they just
Wood was still running open on Brandon. Now rested soul.
Oh yeah.
But hey, we got to get out of here. But man, have a great week. Glad you're feeling better, and be safe out there.
Yeah, you too, bud.
All right, he's Jeremy Schroeder. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Lawdog. This has been Lawdog Sports, the college football playoff preview edition, or college championship wrap-up edition, whichever one you want to call it. But be safe.
Florida State just scored.
Florida State. Oh, there we go. Stay gold, pony boy.
Yep.
All right. Be safe. Don't text and drive. Sure, don't drink and drive. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.